So today's gonna be kind of an interesting video because I wanted to do a monthly wrap-up slash maybe TBR and also a reading vlog, but I don't really have time to do both before the end of the month, so I just thought why not mix them together into one. So I'll be sharing all the books that I read for the month of June, and then since June's not over just yet, I have another book that I wanted to do a reading vlog for. So I didn't really read all that many books, so this video shouldn't be crazy long, but I will just go ahead and share what I read and then what we're gonna be reading for today's video. So if you watched my Disney vlog, in the beginning of the vlog I talked about a book that one of the characters was just getting on my nerves, and I didn't really give you a description of the book or the name of the book, so I'm gonna do that right now. The book I read was Birthday Girl, and it wasn't really a book that I heard like crazy things about. Like, it wasn't like it was everywhere for me. I heard it in maybe 2 or 3 different places, and since Magnolia Parks was a book that I really wanted some toxicity and it just didn't deliver the way I wanted it to, I thought this would be a good second option to try. Birthday Girl is about a 19-year-old girl named Jordan who starts catching feelings for her boyfriend's dad, which I was like, that is so dramatic. That's something that I need to read. So I did. I did not get the physical book. It's something that's on Kindle Unlimited. So if you guys have the subscription, then you guys can go ahead and read that if you're interested. But I don't know if I would recommend it. And I'll tell you why. I didn't feel like there's anything crazy about this book. Like, it wasn't something that I would say this is an amazing book or it's a terrible book. It just wasn't giving what I wanted to give. And I think it has just everything to do with the characters. So Jordan, she's 19, and in my Disney vlog, I was talking about how I feel like she's very pick-me. Throughout a lot of the story, we hear like, you know, she likes to get dirty and muddy, and she's not like other girls in this small town, which honestly, it's fine, I guess, especially when the guy thinks that, because everyone wants a guy who thinks you're special. But it just got kind of annoying. This isn't really a spoiler or anything, but of course the dad is scared he's gonna lose his son if he starts catching feelings for Jordan. Like, that's just normal. And I felt like there was a point where Jordan just kind of was like super not understanding, and like throughout the book she keeps telling him that I'm not a child, I'm a grown woman and all that stuff. But in that moment I was just kind of like, you're kind of throwing a fit and it's childish. I don't know how it's so hard to understand why, if you're catching feelings for your boyfriend's dad, that he would be afraid of telling his son and how his son's gonna react and all this stuff, and be like, oh, I know my worth. If you can't see my worth, then I'm just gonna leave. It was just weird. And then also with the dad, his name's Pike, and I don't know. I don't know if it's because of his name. I don't know if it's because of just who he is. I just could not fall in love with this character. Like, he was so boring, like, and dull. I don't know, like, he definitely gave like, touch my girl and you're dead, I'm gonna protect her and everything, but like, I don't know, bro. Like, I love it when I can fall in love with these characters and be like, oh my god, he's like amazing, he's a book boyfriend. But he was giving nothing, guys, not a single thing for me. It got to the point because like, she annoyed me, he was boring. I really didn't care if they ended up together or not. Like, I would be fine either way. You know how like when you read, you can make an image in your head of the guy and what he looks like and all that stuff. No matter how much I tried, my brain just could not form a desirable man. It just wasn't working out for me, and I was just like, I'm ready to stop reading. I don't feel like the writing was bad or anything, but there was definitely parts where I was kind of like, this is boring and I don't care. An added element that I thought was gonna be like great, which I do think it was great, is that like Jordan and her boyfriend end up moving in with Pike, which is like the catalyst of this whole thing, to save up money and stuff. There was just a lot of like times where Jordan was super flip-floppy, like, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna stay, and I was kind of like, girl, at this point I'm just kind of like, can you just go, because this is getting really annoying for me. I'm not saying that each time was not valid. Like, there were some things that happened in the book that I was like, okay, yeah, if that happened to me, I would probably be uncomfortable with my living situation as well. But I was just kind of getting over it, and I felt like the climax could have been better. Like, I was hoping that there would be something like juicier to happen. Like, it felt kind of like very anticlimactic. Overall, I rated it 2.5. I can't remember what I rated Magnolia Parks. I think I rated it a 2 if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I am still on the hunt for a toxic, morally gray relationship that excites me, and I'm excited to read and finish and see how it ends, and it's not disappointing and anticlimactic and all that stuff. You know, like I feel like this had so much potential, but it just didn't deliver for me. But anyways, now we're going to read Hooked, which is the first book in Emily McIntyre's Never After series, where she like reimagines fairy tales. I read Scarred, which I think is the second book in her series. It is a Lion King reimagining, which I did enjoy. I rated, I think, that 3.7, and if you want to know more, I will link the video down below where I talk more about it. But all these books are very twisted, and it's surrounding the villain in these stories. So instead of rooting for the hero, you'll find yourself rooting for the villain. Probably very graphic, and these guys are not good guys, but I guess you get a deeper understanding of why they are the way they are. This one, Hooked, is a Peter Pan reimagining, so we're gonna be following the character who's similar to Hook, and from what I understand, he hates Peter and I guess is trying to plot something against him, but ends up falling in love with his daughter. That's all I know from the back of the book. So we're gonna read it. We're gonna see if it's any good. Hopefully it is, because I don't know, I'm ready to fall in love with the book again. I can't remember the last book where I was like, oh yeah, like I'm kind of obsessed and you have to read this. So maybe this will be it, and I'm curious to see how it compares to Scarred. So that is what we're going to be reading for the next few days. Similar to all my reading vlogs, it's gonna be spoiler free, and then I'm gonna have a spoiler free section at the end, and then at the end we're gonna do a spoiler section where we're just gonna talk about it. So if you read the book, then we can share thoughts and stuff. So let's go ahead and start reading Hooked. I feel like I'm all over the place right now. I just finished filming my monthly reset, so if you haven't seen that, go ahead and watch that. But I am pretty far into the book right now. I am way past halfway, and it's a pretty small book. It's only 300 pages, so I'm almost at the end. I really just zipped through it because I feel like it's pretty good. It's not one of those books that's super slow. We got kind of to the point pretty quickly. Each chapter there's something new and something interesting, so overall, I'm really enjoying this book so far. I don't know at this moment if I think I like this better than Scarred or not. Maybe we'll just see how it ends, and then I'll be able to give my full review. But I definitely like that it's taken place in present time. In Scarred, it was like back in the day, I think the 20s. I don't know, I don't really care to read like books that take place back in the day. It's definitely dramatic, and it's scratching my itch for drama that like I've been seeking in the last few books that just wasn't giving. And all the books that I read, and I'm noticing a trend, all these guys are like, she's mine. Like they're very possessive, and I love that. Literally don't care if it's toxic. I like that. So, you know, it's definitely a genre that I enjoy, like the she's mine, touch me and you die. When I read these books, I'm kind of like, am I okay? Like I hope I'm okay, but I think I am, because even there's so many people who read this and even highlighting quotes, because you can tell on the Kindle like how many people highlighted a very popular quote, and it'll be like some twisted stuff sometimes, and I'm like, in real life I'll be saying run, like this is hella toxic, but like if it's a book, I like it. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what that says about me. I don't care what it says about me. I'm enjoying it so far. I fully expected this book to take me a long time to finish, but like I feel like I'm gonna finish it today, and by tomorrow or the next day just come back on here and tell you my whole thoughts of everything, because I'm just like kind of devouring this book. Wendy, the main character, she has a lot of innocence in her, and then James, he is ready to take that away from her. I'm getting to the point where I feel like everything's about to hit the fan right now, and I'm ready for it. So I'm gonna get cozy, continue reading. So far, so good. I really enjoy this. I'll see you in my next update. I have like 75 pages left to read. There's just this one quote that I kind of wanted to talk about, and it says, "But despite what he's done both to me and I'm sure to others, I can't change the fact that when I'm with him, when I'm truly with him, I discover more of who I am, who I can be." And I guess I kind of wanted to talk about this because I don't know what it is about books like these when the guy is just so messed up and twisted and does stuff that in real life we would be like, girl, run, this is illegal, he's a criminal, save yourself. Like, but then in books it's just like, but he's cute. You know, like, why we make excuses for this? It just, I guess something about that quote was just like very funny to me, because, and maybe this is a stretch, but like pretty privilege, like because he's cute, we overlook everything. I would like to see an ugly guy do the things that this guy has done to her and be like, okay, that's fine, we'll let it pass. Or like, I would like to see an ugly guy try to do these, and then let's see if she has the same reaction of like, oh, but I'm like discovering myself, and like I feel like I can be really who I truly am when I'm with him. And I just think that that's funny. It's like, if he's a possessive, controlling, dominant, attractive, type A boss man, then everyone's on their knees for him. Like, I don't know what it is about guys like these in books that have girls in a chokehold, me included. It's a very specific formula, at least for me. I feel like I need to like have a whole list of books with men like this, so that, you know, if you are someone who likes this type of genre, you can go ahead and read it as well. I just thought that that was kind of interesting. I'm almost done with the book, so this is gonna be my last update before we go ahead and deep dive and do my whole review for it, which I'll probably end up finishing tonight, if not tomorrow morning. But I will say that there's a lot of violence in this book, but not as much as I thought. There was maybe one scene that was like, oh wow, that's pretty graphic and explicit, but for the most part, other scenes haven't really been like that for me, which isn't really good or bad. Like, honestly, like I don't get really grossed out or queasy if I'm reading like something crazy violence. I will say the last Emily McIntyre book I read, Scarred, because that was the first book that was as graphic as that, it did make me feel a little bit like, oh wow, like my heart was racing reading some of these scenes. But for this, it's not as descriptive or anything like that, so I'm excited to see how this ends. I have an idea, but we'll see. I still feel the same way I did during my last update. I still really like this book. I don't know if this is like amazing for me or anything like that. We'll just see, I guess, how book ends to see if it tips me higher or lower, but at this point it's definitely more than a 3-star. I don't know if it's quite yet a 4-star. We'll just keep reading and see how it goes. But other than that, I'll see you guys during our review. All right guys, so finishing the book, I'm ready to talk about it now. This section is going to be spoiler free, so you're safe here and we're gonna get into it. I don't know if I talked about the premise of the book in the beginning, but pretty much our main character, his name's James and his nickname is Hook, and it's because he carries around a hooked knife, which was nice because I honestly was sure I was going into it with his arm missing, but that wasn't the case. He pretty much had his life ruined by a guy named Peter, and he is just dead set on pretty much taking from him what he's taken from James. So we follow that story, and of course he ends up meeting Wendy, who is Peter's daughter. This is a reimagining of Peter Pan, so not everything is like canon from the original story, but we see a lot of like parallels from the fairy tale to this book, which is very interesting to see. So yeah, him and Wendy get involved and we follow their story with him and her catching feelings, and then of course he hates her dad. So how that is gonna all work out. This is a very twisted book. There is a lot of violence and questionable actions. In the beginning of the book, the author mentions how this is not like some type of hero redemption story. Like, you're not gonna find a hero in these pages, and James is a villain. And the whole lore into this is that you kind of see how they got to be the villain that they are, and it's not that you start being like, oh, I'm gonna justify murder, but it's like, I guess I can see how you would do that, if that makes sense. Overall, I really enjoyed the book. I finished it pretty quickly, which says a lot if I can finish it quick. There was not really a lot of boring parts. It wasn't slow paced. I liked how every chapter there was something interesting going on, and the story didn't just like drag on for the sake of it being a long book. There was only like 300 pages in this book, so it was definitely an easy read. There's lots of twists also in this book. I'm not gonna say all of them weren't predictable, because honestly there were some where I was like, well duh, like of course that would happen. But there was like one that I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I definitely did not see that coming. In terms of the characters, I felt like Wendy was a little bit too naive, because James owns a bar and he first meets her when he sees her walking into it, and he just puts on his charm like full blown. And initially she wasn't like for it, right? But then like the next meeting she's kind of like, okay, like I'm ready for it. And with Wendy, I felt like she was kind of very trusting. Like there were a lot of situations that happened and I felt like she kind of accepted the darkness and then kind of looked for a reason later. And I just wish that there was maybe a little bit more common sense from her end. I'm not gonna say that she wasn't struggling at all with any of the dark things that happened, but she was like, I felt like more than willing to just accept it. And I kind of wish there was a little bit more pushback and like a fight going on between her morals and what she wanted. So that was a little bit for me, but like I said earlier, like pretty privileged guys, like if he's hot, it doesn't matter. Definitely there's spice, so if that makes you uncomfortable, don't read this book. I feel like that goes to show with a lot of the books that I read, there's just always like some type of spice, and this is like pretty descriptive. But for the romance, I don't know, I felt like it was very, I don't know if like maybe I just can't be satisfied, because for a lot of books I feel like there's like a crazy slow burn and I'm over it, and I'm like, I just want something to happen. But for this, there was not like an insta love or anything, but just like he put his charm on so quickly, like straight off the bat, and it didn't take very long for her to succumb. And I guess that took away a little bit of the excitement for me. I don't like a crazy slow burn, but I kind of like a little bit of pushback, like will they not, you know what I mean? So that's something that just stood out to me. It doesn't like irk me necessarily, but I think that just also adds to the fast-pacedness of the book, that like there's always something happening in each of the chapters. Overall, I don't think there was like anything crazy that stuck out to me that was like, oh, I absolutely do not like this book. There was just like tiny small things that happened that I was just like, oh, that's not my favorite, but overall I did enjoy reading it. I will say the last line in the book I did not like, and I'm gonna read it for you right now. So it says, and to think it all started with a little bit of faith, misplaced trust, missing pixie dust, and a villain who just needed to steal a little love. But like I just did not like that at all. I get the whole faith, trust, and pixie dust, and they allude to it in the middle of the book at a different situation, but I just wish they didn't end it like this. I kind of liked how in the second to last chapter how they ended that, but this was in the epilogue, and just that last line, I was like, it makes me itch. Like I don't like it. Also, I will say, because I mention it all the time, I did read the second book, Scarred, and I do think I like Scarred better. I think during my rating I rated it a 3.8, but I'm just gonna round it to a 4, because you ever like rate something and then you compare it to something else and you're like, okay, I think this needs to be a little bit higher in comparison to that book. So in comparison, I feel like this is a 4-star and Hooked is a 3.8 stars. I feel like Hooked doesn't have as much like violence and like explicit scenes in it, which, shoot, does that make me crazy? Like, I don't know, do I like the violence? I don't think so, but I just think there was more to it, and I think that book is a lot longer. This has almost 400 pages, so I think just because it's thicker and has maybe more substance, I just grew to like it more. Who knows? But yeah, that is my rating. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the spoiler section now, so if you don't want to watch that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. But if you want to know the spoilers, let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to mention, it's not like a huge thing for me, but we know that with James, he was traumatized by the things his uncle did, and it was like implied. Like I feel like we get the gist of what happened, but I kind of wish that there was not explicit detail, especially of what happened, especially because he was a child, but just like maybe more backstory to it. And I couldn't help but compare it to Scarred and how we got a lot of why Tristan was traumatized. And with James, it was just all like implied stuff. And I guess I just wanted to hear him say specifically, this is what he did to me and this is why I'm so messed up. I think it would have just added a little bit more to understanding his trauma, I guess. Also, with the whole Smee ending, like Smee being his cousin and working with Peter was kind of weird. Like they didn't really elaborate much on their connection. Like I know that they have like the common enemy, which is James and stuff, but it was just weird. And like Smee's upper hand was very short-lived, so it kind of seemed a little, not pointless, but like I wish it could have been like, I don't know, a little bit longer drawn out. Maybe we can see more of him as Croc and like what he's doing within the streets. Like we know that he made people feel safer, but what is his connection with Peter? What is it that he's actually doing with his business? Like I felt like we just didn't know much, and it was just a couple pages of him like, bet you didn't see that coming, I'm your cousin and I'm about to kill you, and then he dies. So then I was like, that was weird. Okay. I also felt like it was kind of alarming how easily Wendy overlooked being like threatened and kidnapped and mistreated by James. And that's the whole like, you know, he's hot so it's okay, but like no. I just felt like her prefrontal cortex definitely did not kick in yet, and she was just kind of like, you know that thing where it's like sit down and they're like, I'm sat. Like that's her. It's just so willing and ready to overlook all the things that he's doing. And like, girl, like Stockholm syndrome, he kidnapped you and you know it, and it's like, haha, that's cute, but is it really? There was a point that she was like, I can't believe he would do this, but the way he's looking at me though, like Wendy. And then with James, I do like his like boss dominant attitude and all that stuff, but I felt like he kind of like was getting messy and overlooked a lot of things that I was like, I felt like it took away from the attractiveness. Like how he instantly thought that Wendy worked with her dad and was doing stuff to mess with him, so he just acted really quickly about that and didn't really sit and think and thought more with his emotions and logically, which I understand at the same time because Rue just died. But was it a gut feeling? I don't know. Same thing with Starkey. Like, he knew that he messed up, but then still brought him along to like that cave place to meet with Peter and whatever. Like, you knew that he was being sus, but you still brought him along. And I was kind of like, that's what almost got you killed. Like, I just think it would have added more to his attractiveness if he was like, not that he's always right, but like he just got a little messy. And I was like, I just wish that he was just a little bit more thinky, you know? I think that is all for today's video. And I hope you guys enjoyed my reading vlog / June wrap up. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below, let me know if you read the book, let me know if you liked the book, let me know what I should read next, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.